Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be talking all about hats and caps today. I know a lot of you out there are probably prepping for the IELTS exam, and this topic pops up a lot.
Oh, it really does.
We've got tons of resources here to dive into articles, exam tips, even some history, and hopefully we can uncover some of those hidden insights to make you a hat expert.
Yeah, hat expert for the IELTS, that is.
Exact.
It's true, though. Hats are very common in the IELTS speaking test. And I think it's because it's not just about knowing the vocabulary. It's about using hats as a way to show off your language skills.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I was just looking at one of the prep guides, and they were talking about how examiners use these everyday topics to see how well you can, like, elaborate, give reasons, and connect ideas. And I never really thought about it like that.
Right. And, one of the questions they love to ask is, do you wear hats? And a simple yes or no isn't really enough.
Hmm.
They want you to be able to give, like, context, reasons, maybe even a little story about a hat you like.
Yeah. So really going beyond just the surface level. So instead of just saying, I like baseball caps, maybe
Yeah.
talk about why they're so popular, especially among students.
Yeah, exactly. Or, what's fascinating is that hats can be a real form of self-expression, particularly for young people.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. A baseball cap can signal group affiliation, while a beanie might be more about individual style.
Huh. So there are like these underlying cultural meanings that we might not even realize. One article even mentioned how some cultures view certain hats as status symbols.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes this topic so rich for the IELTS.
Hmm.
You can talk about personal preferences, cultural influences, even historical trends. Right. It's a chance to really demonstrate a broad understanding of the topic, but also use a wide range of vocabulary and grammar.
That's true. This prep podcast I was listening to was emphasizing using specific examples. Instead of just saying hats are fashionable, you could talk about a specific type of hat and why it's considered stylish.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Describing the features of a fedora or explaining, why wide-brimmed hats are making a comeback that allows you to showcase your vocabulary, but also show that you understand, fashion trends.
Yeah, and one thing I found interesting was how hat styles seem to cycle through history. Like, fedoras were huge in the 1920s and then faded, and now they're back in style.
It's true. It's like fashion is this revolving door, and hat styles are constantly being reinvented and reinterpreted.
So if you can connect a hat style to its historical context, I feel like that would definitely impress the examiners, right?
Oh, for sure. It shows that you've gone beyond just, surface level understanding, and you've really thought about the, historical and cultural significance of hats.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of, going beyond simple answers, using specific examples, and connecting hats to cultural and historical context. What are some of the other insights we can pull from these resources?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was the importance of voice and tone. The IELTS speaking test is about demonstrating your ability to communicate effectively in a natural and engaging way.
So not like a robot reciting facts about hats.
Exactly. Think of it more like a conversation with a friend. You want to express your ideas clearly and confidently, but also with a bit of personality.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was listening to a sample IELTS response, and the candidate was describing their favorite hat and why they loved wearing it. It just felt so much more genuine than like listing off a bunch of hat facts.
Oh, for sure. Those personal anecdotes can really bring your answers to life and help you connect with the examiner on a more personal level.
So instead of just saying, I enjoy wearing hats, you could talk about a specific memory or experience that involves a hat.
Exactly. Maybe talk about a time when you wore a special hat to a wedding, or how wearing a certain hat makes you feel confident and stylish.
Okay, I'm starting to see how hats can really be a gateway to showcasing so many different aspects of language proficiency.
Exactly. It's about using the topic as a springboard to demonstrate your vocabulary, your grammar, your fluency, and your ability to express yourself in a clear and engaging way.
This is really making me rethink how I approach the IELTS exam, It's not just about memorizing answers, it's about finding opportunities to like weave in your own insights and make those connections that go beyond the surface.
Now you're getting it. It's about demonstrating your understanding of those nuances of language and using it to create a compelling and memorable response.
All right, so we've covered the importance of providing detailed answers, using specific examples, connecting those hats to their cultural and historical context, and, injecting your own personality into your responses. What else do we need to know before we really dive into those specific IELTS questions?
Well, one thing we haven't touched on yet is the importance of vocabulary. Remember, the IELTS exam is designed to assess your range of vocabulary and your ability to use it accurately and appropriately.
Right. It's not just knowing the word for like baseball cap and fedora. It's about using more sophisticated language to describe different hat styles, materials, even the feelings that they evoke.
Exactly. Think about words like grim, crown-lining embellishment. These are all words that could come in handy when describing hats.
And what about words that describe the style or impression a hat creates, like elegant, casual, vintage bohemian?
Those are excellent examples.
Mm.
Using descriptive language not only showcases your vocabulary, but it helps you paint a more vivid picture for the examiner.
So instead of saying, I like this hat, you could say, I'm drawn to the vintage charm of this fedora.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It adds that level of sophistication and nuance to your language, which is exactly what the examiners are looking for.
I'm starting to see how even a simple topic like hats can be a goldmine for demonstrating your language skills.
It's all about finding those opportunities to go beyond the obvious and showcase your ability to use language in a creative and impactful way.
Okay. I'm feeling much more confident about tackling those IELTS hat questions. I'm ready to dive in. What's the first one we're going to unpack?
Let's start with a classic. Do you wear hats or caps?
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It seems simple enough, but I guess it's your chance to make a first impression.
Right. And we talked about going beyond just a basic yes or no. So what would a good response sound like?
Good question.
Well, one of the IELTS resources had a candidate who said, yes, I do enjoy wearing hats, particularly during the summer months. I find a wide-brimmed straw hat not only provides excellent sun protection, but also adds a touch of elegance to any outfit.
Oh, okay, I see what they did there. They stated their preference, gave a reason, and even used some good descriptive language.
Exactly. And did you notice how they use the present simple tense to describe like a general habit, but then switch to the present perfect to talk about their own experience?
Oh, right. That shows a good range of grammar, even in just a simple answer.
Exactly. And remember those vocabulary tips we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
This is where you can weave in words like, brim crown embellishment, if it has any decorations.
Okay, I'm starting to see how every question is really a chance to show off your language skills. So what's next?
All right, how about what kind of hats or caps do you like to wear? This is where you can really shine with your vocabulary and knowledge of different styles.
Ooh, okay. So instead of just saying baseball caps, maybe I could talk about a specific type, like a trucker hat or a snapback.
Exactly. And you can even explain why you prefer that style. Is it the material, the logo?
Right. The more specific, the better.
And don't forget those personal anecdotes we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect spot to bring those in.
Yeah.
Do you have a story about a special hat you got as a gift or a time you wore a particular hat to, a memorable event?
Oh, yeah, I could definitely work with that. So I'm thinking specific vocabulary plus personal touch to really make my answer stand out. Could I also mention anything about different cultures here?
Oh, absolutely. You could talk about how certain styles are popular in your culture or how hats are viewed in different parts of the world.
Okay, so for example, I could talk about how cowboy hats are like super iconic in the American West, or how berets are associated with French style.
Exactly. Bringing in those cultural references shows that you have a broader understanding of the topic,
Yeah.
It's about connecting beyond just your own experience.
Wow, this is starting to feel less like an exam and more like just a fun conversation about hats.
Yeah, it's the spirit.
Okay, so what's the next question?
Let's try this one. Are hats popular in your country? Now, this one goes beyond personal preference. You have to analyze a trend a little bit.
Okay, so I need to think about why hats might be popular or unpopular in my country. Is it a fashion thing, a cultural thing, or even just practical, like the weather?
You got it. It's all about identifying the factors that influence hat-wearing habits in your culture and then, explaining those factors clearly.
Okay. One of the articles mentioned how hats can be a way to express national identity or cultural pride.
Well, that's a good one. You could talk about how certain hats have become symbols of national identity, like the sombrero in Mexico or the Ushanka hat in Russia.
And I could also bring up how hats are sometimes used to make a statement about social or political beliefs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about how baseball caps are often used to show off logos or slogans that represent a particular cause or group.
Okay, so this question is like weaving together cultural observations, fashion trends, and even maybe some social commentary.
Exactly. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's about demonstrating your ability to analyze a trend and present your thoughts in a clear and engaging way.
This is great. I feel like I'm getting the hang of this. What's next?
Okay, this one's more personal. When was the last time you wore a hat and what was the occasion?
All right, so this is where I can tell a story and really showcase my past tense skills.
Exactly. Think about a specific event where you wore a hat, maybe a wedding, a festival, or even just a casual day out with friends.
Right.
And remember the details. The type of hat, why you chose to wear it, how it made you feel, and maybe even how other people reacted to it.
Oh, that's good. One of the example answers talked about how they wore a wide-brimmed hat to protect themselves from the sun during a hiking trip.
Perfect. It's a practical reason combined with a personal experience, and it lets them use vocabulary related to, outdoor activities.
Right. And this is also a good opportunity to use different grammatical structures. Like, I could use the past continuous tense to describe what I was doing while wearing the hat, or the past perfect to talk about something that happened before I put it on.
That's the idea. The key is to use this question to showcase a range of grammatical structures and vocabulary, but also to make sure you're still telling a compelling story.
I'm starting to see how even a simple question about a personal experience can be a way to demonstrate your, mastery of English.
Oh.
What's next?
Do you think wearing hats is a reflection of personal style? How so? What do you think?
Hmm. This one's interesting because it's not just about stating your opinion, it's about explaining your reasoning.
Exactly. You need to give examples to support your viewpoint.
Yeah.
And show that you understand how fashion choices reflect personality and style.
Okay, one of the articles talked about how hats can be a way to signal belonging to a particular group or subculture.
Oh, that's a great example. You could talk about how certain hats are associated with different music genres, sports teams, or even political movements.
Yeah, or I could mention how hats can be used to create a certain aesthetic. Like someone who wears a fedora might be going for a more vintage or sophisticated look.
Right. And you could contrast that with someone who wears a beanie, which might be more about a casual or laid-back style.
So it's about connecting hat styles to broader fashion trends and cultural influences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, it's okay to have a strong opinion here. Don't be afraid to express your viewpoint and back it up with evidence and examples.
This is making me think about the whole psychology of fashion, how our clothes say so much about us. Okay, what's the last question we're going to analyze?
Do you think hats will ever go out of style?
Ooh, this is a fun one. It's a chance to get creative. I could talk about current trends in fashion, or even try to predict what hats might look like in the future.
Exactly. And think about the historical context we discussed earlier. Hats have been around forever. They've gone through times of being really popular and times of not being so popular. What factors might influence their future?
Hmm. One article talked about how hats are becoming more sustainable and eco-friendly, which could be a big draw for younger people.
That's a great point. You could talk about how designers are experimenting with new materials and production methods to create hats that are both stylish and good for the environment.
And I could even bring up how technology might change hats in the future. Maybe we'll have hats with built-in headphones or even augmented reality features.
That's an interesting idea. It shows you're thinking outside the box and considering how hats might adapt to the digital age.
This is making me realize that hats are more than just an accessory. They reflect history, culture, and even our hopes for the future.
I'm glad you're seeing the depth of this topic. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about showing your ability to analyze trends, consider different viewpoints, and express your ideas clearly and in an engaging way.
Wow, we've covered so much. We've analyzed 6 different IELTS questions, explored the cultural side of hats, and learned some key strategies for crafting amazing answers. What are some final tips for anyone prepping for the IELTS?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We talked about those IELTS-specific tips from, like, the prep materials. What were those again?
Oh, right. Those are like those practical strategies that can really boost your score.
Yeah.
I think the first one was remember that the speaking test is timed, so you need to practice answering those questions like concisely, but still with enough detail to showcase your skills.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between thoroughness and time management.
Exactly. And one thing they really emphasized was using linking words. Things like how moreover, in addition to the paragraph,
Right.
it makes your answers flow so much better, and it shows that you have good command of the language. Yeah, it's like weaving a tapestry with your words. Instead of just listing ideas, you're connecting them in a way that makes sense and is engaging.
Another really important one was intonation and pronunciation.
Oh, right. It's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly. The examiners want to hear that you can communicate naturally. So practice things like speaking with varied intonation, emphasizing keywords, and pausing for effect.
I remember the prep podcast even recommended recording yourself and then listening back.
Oh, that's a great idea. It's like having your own personal coach.
Totally. And I guess another tip would be don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand a question.
Oh, absolutely. It's much better to take a moment to clarify than to give an answer that's completely off topic.
Right. It shows that you're present and paying attention, not just trying to rush through it.
And I know this might sound cliche, but try to relax and be yourself.
I know what you mean. It sounds simple, but it's so hard when you're in that situation.
I know. When you get nervous, it's easy to forget everything you've been practicing. Just take a deep breath, smile, and remember, the examiners are just there to assess your language skills, not to, judge you as a person.
That's a good reminder. It's about showing your best self, not trying to be someone you're not.
And even if you make a mistake, don't let it throw you off. Just keep going and focus on getting your ideas across.
It's like they say mistakes are proof that you're trying.
Exactly. And the examiners know you're under pressure. What matters most is your overall fluency, and you know how well your ideas fit together.
This has been such a great deep dive. I feel so much more prepared for those IELTS hat questions, and I even learned a lot about hats that I didn't know before.
It's amazing how something as simple as a hat can tell you so much about culture, history, and even personal style.
Maybe all this hat knowledge will come in handy in real life, too.
You never know when you'll need to impress someone with your hat trivia.
All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Remember, practice those speaking tips. Embrace those hats, and most importantly, be yourself and let your personality shine through.
Until next time, happy hatting.